Hello. Thank you for joining me. Is it just me, or does this guy look like Santa Claus? Back to the Giver, chapter 6. We're right in the middle on page 45. Now Father sat beside Mother in the audience. Jonas could see them applauding dutifully as the nines, one by one, wheeled their new bicycles, each with its gleaming name tag attached to the back from the stage. He knew that his parents cringed a little as he did when Fritz, who lived in the dwelling next door to theirs, received his bike and almost immediately bumped into the podium with it. Fritz was a very awkward child who had been summoned for chastisement again and again. His transgressions were small ones always: shoes on the wrong feet, schoolwork misplaced, failure to study adequately for a quiz. But each error but but each such error reflected negatively on his parents' guidance and infringed on the community's sense of order and success. Jonas and his family had not been looking forward to Fritz's bicycle, which they realized would probably be too often be dropped on the front walk instead of being wheeled neatly into its port. Finally, the nines were all resettled in their seats, each having wheeled a bicycle outside where it would be waiting for its owner at the end of the day. Everyone always chuckled and made small jokes when the nines rode home for the first time. Want me to show you how to ride? Older friends would call. I know you've never been on a bike before. But invariably, the grinning nines, who in technical violation of the rule had been practicing secretly for weeks, would mount and ride off in perfect balance, training wheels never even touching the ground. Then the tens. Jonas never found the ceremony of tens practically interesting, only time-consuming, as each child's hair was snipped neatly into a distinguishing cut. The females lost their braids at 10, and the males, too, relinquished their long, childish hair and took on the more manly short style, which exposed their ears. Laborers moved quickly to the stage with brooms and swept away the mounds of discarded hair. Jonas could see the parents of the new tens stir and murmur, and he knew that this evening in many dwellings they would be snipping and straightening and hastily done haircuts, trimming them into a neater line. 11s. It seemed a short time ago that Jonas had undergone the ceremony of 11. But then he remembered that it was not one of the more interesting ones. By 11, one was only waiting to be a 12. It was simply by a marking of time with no meaningful changes. There was new clothing, different undergarments for females whose bodies were beginning to change, and longer trousers for the males, with a specially shaped pocket for the small calculator that they would use this year in school, but were simply presented in wrapped packages without accompanying speech. Break for midday meal. Jonas realized he was hungry. He and his groupmates congregated by the tables in the front of the auditorium and took their packaged food. Yesterday, there had been merriment at lunch, a lot of teasing and energy, but today the group stood anxiously, separate from the other children. Jonas watched the new nines gravitate toward their waiting bicycles, each one admiring his or her name tag. Now he saw the tens stroking their shortened hair, females shaking their heads to feel the unaccustomed lightness without the heavy braids that they had worn for so long. I heard a guy was absolutely certain he was going to be assigned engineer, Asher muttered as they ate. Instead, they gave him sanitation laborer. He went out the next day, jumped into the river, swam across, and joined the next community he came to. Nobody ever saw him again. Jonas laughed. Somebody made that story up, Ash, he said. My father said he heard this same story when he was a 12. But Asher wasn't reassured. He was eyeing the river where it was visible behind the auditorium. I can't even swim very well, he said. My swimming instructor said that I don't have the right boyishness or something. Buoyancy, Jonas corrected him. Whatever. I don't have it. I sink. Anyway, Jonas pointed out, have you ever once known of anyone, really known for sure, Asher, not just heard a story about it, who joined another community? No, Asher admitted reluctantly. But you can. It says so in the rules. If you don't fit in, you can apply for elsewhere and be released. My mother says that once, about 10 years ago, someone applied and was gone the next day. Then he chuckled. She told me that because I was driving her crazy. She threatened to apply for elsewhere. She was joking. I know. But it was true what she said, that someone did that once. She said that it was really true. Here today and gone tomorrow. Never seen again. Not even a ceremony of release. Jonas shrugged. It didn't worry him. How could someone not fit in? The community was so meticulously ordered. The choices so carefully made. Even the matching of spouses was given such weighty consideration that sometimes an adult who applied to receive a spouse waited months or even years before a match was approved and announced. All of the factors, disposition, energy level, intelligence, and interest, had to correspond and interact perfectly. Jonas's mother, for example, had higher intelligence than his father, but his father had a calmer disposition. They balanced each other. Their match, like all the matches that had been monitored by the Committee of Elders for the 3 years before they could apply for children, had always been a successful one. Like the matching of spouses and the naming of placement of new children, the assignments were scrupulously thought out by the Committee of Elders. He was certain that his assignment, whether it was to be, and Asher's too, would be the right one for them. He only wished that the midday break would conclude, that the audience would re-enter the auditorium, and that the suspense would end. As if in answer to his unspoken wish, the signal came, and the crowd began to move toward the doors.